The people with real wealth don't look wealthy, and that's not an accident. Most people drawn to quiet luxury focus on how it looks. The neutral tones, the cashmere, the understated everything. But the aesthetic is the surface. Underneath it is a money philosophy. And that philosophy has a name: stealth wealth. The way people with real generational wealth actually think about spending. Here's what's worth knowing. You don't need wealth to use it. These aren't rules about how much you have. They're rules about how you decide. 5 of them. And once they click, the logo thing stops making sense entirely. Rule 1 sounds like math. It changes everything. Price is what you pay once. Cost is what you pay over time. Most people buy by price. They see a number, compare it to other numbers, and decide. Fine as far as it goes. But it's not how quiet luxury people think. Not how stealth wealth people think. They think in cost per use. A coat that costs $400 and lasts 15 years costs less than a coat that costs $120 and falls apart in 2 seasons. A pair of shoes you resoled twice and wore for a decade was cheaper than the 3 pairs that replaced each other in a year. This isn't a case for spending more. It's a case for spending once. The question isn't, can I afford this? It's, will I still want this in 5 years? If yes, and if the quality holds, the higher price is often the cheaper option. That's not luxury thinking. That's just math. But the second rule, this one is uncomfortable. Because it's about you. There's a version of spending that's really about communication. You buy the bag because you want people to see the logo. You buy the car because you want them to know what it cost. The purchase isn't for you. It's for the audience. Stealth wealth people notice something about this pattern. The louder the spending, the less secure the relationship with money underneath it. People who actually have wealth rarely think about what you think of their money. They think about whether things work, whether they last, whether they're worth what was paid, in quality, in function, in how they feel to use every single day. The quiet luxury aesthetic exists because of this insight. Not because neutrals are trending. Because once you stop buying for an audience, your choices get quieter. Naturally. The logo isn't the thing. The thing is the thing. Once you make that switch, evaluating what you buy by what it actually is, not what it signals, your relationship with brands changes completely. You stop paying for the name and start paying for the object. That's a different and quieter kind of freedom. Rule 3 is about time. Specifically, what happens to the things you choose to keep? There's a word in fine leather: patina, the sheen that develops over years of use. On a new bag, it's absent. On a bag carried everywhere for 8 years, it's everything. Stealth wealth people understand this instinctively. The best things aren't new. They're well used. This goes beyond leather. The wine glass that belonged to someone's parents. The watch worn across 3 generations. The house bought in 1978 and added to carefully over decades. There's a preference for things that age well, not things that get replaced. And the practical lesson isn't only buy things that develop patina. It's simpler. Buy things you intend to keep. Let them acquire a history. Bring them through time with you. A room furnished slowly, with care, over 10 years is always more interesting than a room put together completely last month. That's the quiet luxury home. Not a showroom. A life that's been lived in. Rule 4 is where most people quit. And it's the one that changes your finances the fastest. The ability to walk away from something you want, not because you can't afford it, but because you don't need it, is one of the most underrated financial skills there is. Quiet luxury people practice this constantly, not from scarcity, from clarity. They know what they have. They know what they actually use. And at some point, they understood that the purchase high is temporary and the accumulation is permanent, so they buy slowly, one thing at a time, when they're certain. From the outside, this looks like restraint. From the inside, it feels like freedom. When you stop buying things you don't need, you start accumulating something else. Space. Financial space. Physical space. Mental space. You don't need to organize what you don't own. You don't need to maintain what you never bought. You don't need to store, insure, or eventually discard something you passed on in the first place. Restraint isn't deprivation. It's choosing your possessions, rather than letting your possessions choose you. And Rule 5. This one reframes everything you just heard. The thing underneath all of it, the reason stealth wealth works as a philosophy and quiet luxury works as a life, is this. Money is a means, not a message. People who live by these principles don't do it to confuse you about how much they have. They do it because they've stopped using money as a performance. And when you stop performing it, something shifts. You start using money for what it's actually for. Time, comfort, quality, security, experience. Not to signal those things. To have them. A good meal, eaten slowly, is worth more than a famous restaurant visited for the photo. A well-made coat you wear for 10 years is worth more than 3 flashy pieces bought in a single season. A weekend with nothing on the calendar is worth more than a vacation documented for everyone else. That's the quiet luxury mindset at its core. Spend on what you actually value, not on what other people can see. Simple. And it changes everything. If any of this resonated, if you've been quietly moving in this direction without quite having the words for it, this channel was made with you in mind. Every video here is about living with more intention and less noise. The clothes, the home, the way you travel, the way you think about what you spend. Subscribe if that's what you want in your feed. One video a week. Nothing rushed. The next one is already here.